A very good evening to one and all present at this MOOC session. I am Dr. Arunana from Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, and today we are going to discuss about export promotion methods, and we are going to learn some of these stories from the exporters from our own country and also from different parts of the world, that how they have actually used the promotion activities or leveraged upon this kind of promotion activities and have got a lot of success. Now, before start discussion and go into further discussion of what are these promotion activities, let me first introduce you to this topic. So do not confuse this promotion methods or activities with the export promotion schemes provided by Government of India and facilitated by the various export promotion councils, because those export promotion schemes are given to all the exporters for their holistic growth of their business. Whereas the promotion methods, strategies, activities, which we are going to talk about today, are the tools which are present with the exporters at their disposal, so that which they can use and increase the visibility of their product and services in the market. Let's say, for example, participating in any trade fair or trade show or expos, convention, seminars. So how you decide that which where to participate, how to participate, what to plan when you are going to participate in these exhibitions, that's what we are going to discuss. Now, how where this promotion activity fits into the complete export process or export decisions which you make. So all of us know whenever you decide that I want to export a product, so the first and foremost thing which most of us do is to find out the market. So once we have find out the market for our product, then we look for that if there are any other challenges which I miss when I'm exporting to that market, right? For example, let's say any logistic issue which may happen, or let's say any barriers in terms of tariff barriers, non-tariff barriers, is there any quality issue which I may face. And then I look for different kind of certifications, right, that how to overcome those quality barriers and export to those market. So along with this decisions, when you take that which market to go to, how to solve the logistic problems, how to solve this quality related problems, there is one more activity which you must do, so that all your products, all your the services or products which you are exporting, it becomes more visible and chances of your success in the foreign market increases. So the probability of success increases when you do all these methods very systematically, you do it very strategically. Now, in today's session, what we are going to discuss, I will just give you a brief idea. So, whenever I say that you are going to participate in any trade show or trade exhibitions, so there are basically four stages in which we can divide the uh, complete process. So, first stage is when you decide that I want to participate. That is also a very crucial decision. That when do you decide that I want to participate in any any exhibition? Secondly, the main part is when you are already exhibiting at the trade show. But between the exhibition, actual exhibition when you are doing, and when you decide that you are going to exhibit, there is a time period, right? And in that time period, it is very, very crucial that you plan your activity very strategically, so that when you are presenting or when you are exhibiting, the success rate increases. And then there's a fourth stage, which is after you come back, what kind of activities, what kind of follow-ups you should do, and what manner you should do. That is also very, very important. So we are going to discuss about this four different stages and how to approach in all of these stages, because there we've seen that sometimes exporters miss out on the planning part, and then therefore when they go and participate in the when they're actually participating, they miss out on various points. So you will see that what are the crucial major points which you should always keep in mind while you are participating or while you are uh, uh, participating in exhibitions. Now, we also find that people, or people when they are participating exporters, they tell us that very, very expensive process, and it is not always possible for us to go and exit in countries like Europe or in any other developed countries. So we will also look at that if you are unable to participate, then what you should do. Is there any other, are there any other activities which are available over there which you can use for your promotion, and with the help of which you can, which you can still be visible in the market. So we look at also those into those activities as well, which are very economic activities. And then we will look at different kind of trends, marketing global trends. So there are various global trends out there which you can leverage on, and if you merge it with your product and services, it can give you great visibility. That part we will talk about. And we will eventually we will talk about that how different companies, different organizations, export organizations in our country have done this promotional activities very religiously, and they have, got a lot of success. So now let's start our discussion. So let's start our discussion with a pinch of history. So on the screen, you can see this is a picture from 1851, of exhibition, an expo, which you can call, which took place in 1851 in the Hyde Park, London. So this was one of the officially recorded foreign exhibition which took place, and there were some 600 million people who have participated in this exhibition, and it went from May to October. So this was already there. So there's an established process that when you participate in such exhibitions, definitely you are able to promote your product, and your visibility in the market increases. Now, as I told you that there are different types of export methods. So you can see there are 6 major types of export methods which we are going to talk about. They are trade show, expos, conventions, buyer-seller meeting. Search engine marketing I have kept here. Then if you have your own website, if you are leveraging on social media, and if you are also participating in online marketplaces. Now, this 6 activities, there are two major types here. The first type is definitely, we can call it the direct meetings, and the second type we can call it the indirect meetings or indirect methods. Now, as from the name itself, that direct meetings and indirect meetings. So direct meetings are when you are meeting your customers, buyers face to face. You are discussing the opportunities, the challenges, or any potential partnership which may happen. So if we are doing it face to face, we are calling it as direct meeting. And then there are indirect methods as well, which you can do: search engine marketing, owning your website, social media, online marketplaces. So these are the activities which will facilitate your direct meetings, and these are very, very, very important. Now, if you talk about, so there are direct meetings, there are indirect meetings, and there are facilitators who facilitate in meetings. So we have different organizations. For example, there are different export promotion councils which facilitate you in participating in this kind of direct meetings in trade fair, trade show, trade exhibitions. And they also sometimes, give you advice related to, what you should also do except participating in this kind of trade fair, trade exhibition. You can have your search engine or marketing team. You can have your own very, very effective website. But the most important thing here is to understand that this direct meetings and indirect meetings are not independent of each other. They are very much dependent on each other. So let's say if I meet a customer or if I meet a buyer at any exhibition, and there is a potential partnership hidden there, and once we come back and that partner or that buyer wants to check my profile, so he wants to see that where I'm coming from, what kind of products I'm selling, who are the people behind this product, right? So do I have the quality certifications or not? Who are my existing client? Am I a well established player in the market or not? So he may, if he wants to check all those things after you have met him, then he will definitely fall back onto your website, right? And if at that point of time that website, those information is not available at that point, then again, the probability of success may decrease, right? So one thing we need to understand that building trust. So definitely that buyer is looking for information because obviously both the entities are miles apart, right? And they need to build trust. So then they look for your information at various places. Do you have social media presence or not? Are you there? And are you, let's say, if you are already participating in any online marketplace, then they know that you already have some experts, right? So those having those indirect methods with you helps in your direct meeting. And both of them are not, you cannot say that, okay, I will not go in any exhibition. I will only use those indirect methods and I will be successful. That is also not true. So there has to be a balance between these two, direct meetings and the indirect meetings or methods which I talked about. For example, having your own effective website. So we will take examples and we will see that what we call an effective websites for exporters. Okay, so is it a normal website, or there should be some features which you should definitely, put there, which attracts the visibility of your company. So we will discuss that with the help of examples. So talking about participating in online marketplaces, I said you can also participate in online marketplaces. So here I have listed some of the online marketplaces which you can, go and search for. You can always sell on, Walmart, Amazon, eBay. And there are various success stories from our own country that they have used this online marketplaces and they are successfully running their business from past 10 years. So one of this company is Nogi. You can see they have a brand called Monkey brand toothpaste, oral health, and it is very popular in Russia. So they are into indigenous FMCG products, herbal creams, Ayurvedic concoctions, and they sell through eBay, Amazon, Seek Out. Okay, and they have built themselves using this platform, and they export to various countries. So they sell through this online marketplaces to various countries. Similarly, there is another website, another company called with a brand name called Skin Outfit, and this is from Mumbai. If you can go and check this, this started at a very small scale, but using online marketplaces with the help of, they sell leather jackets, they sell to England, they send their stuff to UK, England, and the US. Lot many places they are sending, and they have an annual revenue of around 60 to 80 lakh. Similarly, there is another company called In Dental Equipment. You can also go and check. So they are also selling through eBay and Amazon since 2010, and they have again made a lot of success through this online marketplaces. So this online marketplaces definitely helps you to understand that what are these buyers are looking for, what are the kind of quality they are looking for, so you can have an idea. So even before you start exporting, if you register yourself in any of the online marketplace, you get a fair idea that how this market looks like and what are their expectations and what is the price they are like, what is the kind of price range you can offer your product into, and definitely you also get to see your competitors. This is a very fair, if you want to start, you can always definitely start from this online marketplaces. Now let's see, we talked about uh, so this activities, right? So promotion activities we're talking about. So what are the direct benefits of this activities or when you are participating? So one of the direct benefit is definitely you get to meet the potential customers, you get to meet your future partners, correct? And you get lot of sales opportunities. The exporters, you can, as an exporter, you can also look for different intermediary who are also agent distributors who are participating in this kind of exhibitions. You can meet them, you can talk about your future partnership. So that is also a helpful thing which may happen during these exhibitions. You try to improve your skills, you also gain know-how at the additional program of any trade fairs. Additional programs like if there is any seminar happening, if there is any conference, if there is any discussion happening with respect to the new technology coming in that industry, or what is the global trend which is out there. So with the help of those information, and you can definitely create your own knowledge base that what is the future looks like, right? You can also use this platforms or trade fair platforms as a tool of your market research, and you also check out the competition. So it happens many times, and when you go out into these exhibitions, then for the first time you get to know that how China occupies most of the space at every exhibition, and then you know the scale at which the competition happening out there. So that is also you can help. You can take the help of these exhibitions and do a lot of market research. Brand awareness. Definitely, when you talk about brand awareness, it is about entering the mind of the people, right? So entering the mind of the people, there are thousands of exhibitors over there. So if you are doing anything unique or anything is, you know, very which is not conventional, so the chances of getting into the head of the buyer or the visitor increases. So the brand awareness is important because definitely you want to be in the consideration or choice set when that buyer is making a decision that whether to which player to with, or with which you should do he or she should do the partnership with. So definitely brand awareness is important, but it helps in that brand awareness. And one more important thing you need to understand that this is one of the economic way to reach a wide potential audience. Okay, sometimes we feel that okay, our budget is not matching with the trade fair, but still it is the one of the economical way to reach a wide potential audience. And if you know, it is estimated that 8 out of 10 people who attend this kind of exhibitions are buying managers. Okay, now one important thing here is to we should understand that this whenever we decide to participate in this exhibition, this is a long-term approach or long-term view of any business. So, for example, if I see that this market is growing and I want to be there in market for let's say 10 to 15 years or long term period, then I decide that okay, I want to participate in such an exhibition which is related to that market and in my industry. We do not really go and just participate abruptly in any exhibition with short-term approach. No, when we have a long-term view for about that market, then only we should go and invest uh, our resources. Now, this resources is in terms of lot of things, in terms of money, in terms of your human resource, in terms of your other logistics which you are going to put, right? So that is important. Another important thing is to understand that whenever we participate in this kind of promotional activities, there should always be some objective. We should never visit or we should never go to such exhibitions without objectives, because if you go without objectives, then you cannot measure that what you have achieved or what you have gained or what you have lost, right? And in management we know the things which cannot be measured is very difficult to manage. So you should go with objectives like, okay, fine. Last year I went to an exhibition and I had 50 leads. So this time I'm hoping that that lead is going to increase by 10%. Or I am not present in that yet. So I'm just going there to increase my show my presence or increase my brand awareness, you can say. Or I'm launching a new product, I to showcase it to that market, so I'm taking that. So you should always have an objective which is, if you can quantify it, that's the ideal thing which you can do, if you can quantify it, because after coming back you need to understand that what we have achieved. So you see that because it's a lot of resources, as I said, so you are investing a lot of resources. So if you are unable to measure it, then it's not really helpful for you in long term, right? So these things we should always keep in mind. So we will see that there is a list of, I will give you a list of points which you should always have in the form of checklist when you are participating in any exhibition. Now, let's first understand. Now, next see that whatever we're talking about, the trade fair, trade show, and expos, are they different or they are the same things or not? So, quickly, definition: what is trade show? So, a trade show is an exhibition at which business in a particular industry promote their products or services. These are generally not open to the public and can only be attended by company representatives and members of the press. Expo is at a large scale, and this is a kind of a combination of trade show and conventions. So it's a hybrid of trade show, conferences, and conventions. And you will also find here and there people discussing. There are topics. There is kind of a conference seminar going on where you can always go and discuss the upcoming trends and whatever achievement, or like whatever if any path breaking things which you have done in the form of research papers or in the form of any any research which you have done. So definitely you can showcase them in this kind of forums. Now, there is convention. So, convention is a gathering of individuals in a particular place at a particular time to discuss or engage in a common interest. This is a more focused one where there will be speakers, and the real goal is to get personal interaction between people who have a common interest. So, people interact, they have common interest, they talk about opportunities, they talk about challenges. So, if that is the objective, they go to this kind of convention. Then there are buyer seller meet. So buyer seller meet are kind of very focused, what you call, events. So these focused events are generally organized by different promotion councils. So recently, if you know that Carpet Promotion Councils, they organized a buyer seller meet for Oceanary where they called 50 exporters to participate. Similarly, Gems and Jewelry Council, Promotion Council also has organized a buyer seller meet in the month of September. So this buyer seller meet keeps on happening, and this is a very focused thing because you are inviting only business serious people who are interested in business. So the rate of conversion is more in case of buyer seller meet. So for example, there are huge number of people who are participating, who are visiting your stall in any expo. So the conversion rate is not that great, but here in buyer seller meet, this is very focused, and so that the rate of conversion is high in case of this kind of meetings. So on the screen now, you can see that there are various global events or exhibitions which happens out there. For example, Anuga, CL, Canton Fair, Fruit Logistica. So these are the big names or big exhibitions which happens all over in different time period every year. But the next question is which one to participate and how to get that information from, or how do I approach to these exhibitions, right? So that is what is our next step. So first step is first you have identified, okay, there is a market which is growing and it's going to definitely grow, let's say by 10% every year for next 5 to 10 years if you have that figures with you. So you have decided that, okay, I want to be in this market for let's say 5 to 10 years, and I decided that I want to participate in an exhibition. Now the next question is that which one to participate. Now for that, again, you need information about these exhibitions, right? What is happening, when it is happening. So first information or first source of information from where you can get this information from, that you can visit this website of ITPO. So where they list all the important exhibitions happening in any particular industry, and you can also get in touch with them because sometimes they also they facilitate participation in this kind of exhibition. So you can approach ITPO. Second type of this portal also you can approach to Indian Chamber of Commerce. This will help you to identify a lot of conferences which is happening in your industry in the country, right? So definitely it is important for you to attend this kind of conferences, seminars to build a network. Okay, so we know that in international marketing or in international export business, network plays a very important role. Sometimes you use this network to expand your business, to expand from one country to the other country. So building network is very important. So you can get those information from this website of Indian Chamber of Commerce. Then you can also go to a website, which is a third, like it's an independent website, eventseye.com. This is a very general, you will find it on Google as well. So here, if you say that, okay, fine, Brazil is my market. So it will list all the activities, all the exhibitions, trade shows, which is happening in Brazil in a particular period of time. So you can find out those information from here. Another very interesting and useful website is JETRO, which is Japan External Trade Organization. You can go to their online trade fair database, which is called JMESS, JMESSE. You can go there, and the interesting thing about the website is that they collate all the exhibitions, events happening in different industry. So on the screen, you can see that, for example, there are 326 exhibitions, which is going to happen in the building and construction segment, 323 exhibitions, which are going to happen in the medical care and health segment. So you can get the information from this as along with this. What you can also do, the most easy route is you approach your promotion councils and you ask them. They already have a record that which exhibitions are great to participate. They must have data with respect to which exhibitions have given a lot of business to different exporters. You can approach them and they facilitate some of the exhibitions. The information you can get from there as well. So these are some of the sources from which you can try to find out information. Now, let's say if you are using this website of JETRO and you saw that there are some 323 exhibition which is happening in the medical care health. Now, from this 323 again, the question is that what do I choose, where to go? Right? So there are some general rules which you can definitely follow. One of the rules could be like, you are there are names, right? You can make out from the names. For example, they are writing 13th XYZ Trade Expo or 20th PQR Trade Expo. So this 13 and 20th is representing that this kind of exhibitions are running from last 13 or 20 years. If it is a yearly exhibition, that means that it is running from last 13 and 20 years. So that means it's a reputed one, right? So one could be a one very at a very generic level, you can filter like that. Next filter could be that you go to that website, that exhibition's website, and you look at that what are the like how many people participated in the last exhibition. So that is important. So if you see that, okay, there were 50,000 exhibition people who participated in exhibition, then you as an assumption you can think that, okay, at least 50,000 are going to participate this time, or more than 50,000 may participate this time. That is another thing. The third important thing, which I think most of the exporters are concerned about, is their budget, right? So you look for that what is the cost of participating in these exhibitions, and then you check with your budget, and whichever is if it is feasible and within your budget to participate in this exhibition, you go ahead with that. Uh, Another one, as I said, you can always check with ETCs what are the exhibitions they are promoting, they are facilitating, so you can take their help as well, right? So once you have done that, so the next step is to how do you plan? How do you plan for it? So as I said, once you have decided where to go, and then between when you are actually presenting, so between this two period, you should plan a lot. So it's not like you also have to, so when you are selecting this exhibition, that which one to participate, you also look at the time period. So you cannot choose an exhibition which is like just 1 month away and you want to participate next month. That's not possible. So you also see that you can see a exhibition which is like at least 8 to 9 months from the time when you are selecting it, right? So 8 to 9 months is the ideal time when you should identify the trade show and evaluate your budget. So evaluation of your budget is very important. So when I say budget, there are five important costs which is involved in participation. That is the participation fees, the booth cost, event running cost. That is when you are actually, presenting or exhibiting. What are the costs involved at that period of time? Freight charges. Definitely, there will be a to and fro charges if you are taking in materials from your place to the exhibition and then back to your place. There is a freight charge involved, and if there is any conference in that conference associated with that exhibition, there if you want to participate in a conference, you give a conference fees as well. So if you want to see the elements of this cost in detail, so here is the list. So event running cost comprises of, let's say, electricity and other charges, designing of the stand, building the stand. Either you do it by yourself or you hire someone professional to do it for you. That's definitely a cost which you are going to incur. Then there are security services if you are arranging a reception for people, if you're advertising, and publicity charges. For example, you are printing the cost of brochure catalogs, right? If you need any additional staff, that is also a cost which you will incur. Okay, so if you plan to hire an assistant at that place for, like, let's say just for the purpose of interpreting, that is also an event running cost. And as I said, if you decide to do additional market research along with that exhibition, right? So that's an event running cost. If you look at the freight charges, travel costs, so forwarding, insurance cost, your display of deliver the display goods, your custom clearing charges, and travel costs associated with attending the trade fair, including all follow-up visits after the fair has ended. So that means that when you will be also traveling, you and your staff also will be traveling. That is again another cost, right? Freight charges and travel cost. So all of this cost you should keep in mind while you are thinking of the budget. It's not just participation fees and booth cost. It's a lot of other hidden things are there which you should always keep in mind, and then you should go ahead. Sometimes what happens that we see the participation fees and we see the booth charges, and we think that that's maybe the only thing. And but no, there are other event running cost is also included, and you should keep in mind all those stuff. So that was 8 to 9 months period of time. So once you have decided that I want to participate, I should have a budget, or if that budget is in line the with whatever budget my company has for participating, that you need to figure out. Then in 6 to 7 months period of time, you book your space at the trade show and you push for the best possible space. Now, what is the best possible space? Best possible space, which we see, for example, the corner booths or a booth which is just beside a big brand, right? So this kind of booth attracts a lot of traffic. Now, as it attracts a lot of traffic, then definitely they're costlier, and it's not always that you will get these booths. Once that they're high in demand, like people want to have those booths, and obviously they are very, very costly. So even if you don't have access to any corner, if you don't get corner booth or a booth which is in front of a big brand or just beside a big brand, then also you look for places which attract a lot of traffic, right? So that is important. So you book your space at the trade show and push for the best possible space. And during this period only, 6 to 7 months period only, you should also see or identify that if your promotion council is also participating, or if people in your industry from your own country is also participating in that exhibition or not. Because sometimes it happens that it is good to participate in groups than individual. Okay, so that during 6 to 7 months period of time, you should also try to figure out that if they are facilitating and if there is someone else also who is participating in those kind of exhibitions. So when I talk about booths, so just let's quickly see that what are this type of booths. Generally, there are linear booth, corner booth, island booth, peninsula booth, and perimeter booth, right? So what are this linear booth? So linear booths, you can see the A mark. This is linear booth. So this is covered from all the three sides, and there is only one side is open, and they have neighboring stalls on either. They will have neighboring stalls on both the sides, right? And they have only one area, front area is open to engage with the visitors. Okay, so these are the least expensive ones in any exhibitions you will get. So the least expensive one, only one end is open for the visitors. Uh, and if, but it's also very difficult, so it needs a lot of creative ways to design this kind of stalls, which are linear booth. Okay. So what are perimeter booths? So perimeter booth, you can see E. These are the perimeter booths which we're talking about. These perimeter booths are similar to linear booth, but what is that? Aligned with the perimeter or the outer wall of the exhibition. So that is why they are called perimeter booth. So perimeter booth, you can see it's also open from only one end, but the only difference from linear booth is that they are arranged in the perimeter with the main wall of the exhibition. Okay. Then there are island booth. You can see this C, which is island booth. This island booth is open from all the sides. It's the most expensive booth which you will find in any exhibition, and expensive because they attract a lot of traffic, and they attract most sought after booth which you will find, and they attract a lot of attention as well. So these are the island booths. Then there are peninsula booth, which are open from 3 feet, right? The D, which you can see. So these are the second most popular after the island booth. So this is open from three sides. So you can definitely you can understand that when it is open from three sides, it will again attract a lot of traffic. And then there are corner booths. B, this is corner booth, which is like open from both the sides, and this is generally at the end of the row, right? And um, uh, it again attracts at least more traffic than any linear booth, correct? So generally this kind of booths are expensive, but you should have a fair idea, because sometimes we don't understand that which kind of booth will attract a lot of traffic, and we end up choosing the wrong booth at wrong place. Okay, so again, there has to be a balance. You should not go for the like the ones where there is no traffic at all. And of course, the island booths kind of booths where it's very expensive, that much budget maybe you don't have. You should try to balance between that two. Something which is in your budget, as well as which is attracting a lot of traffic as well. This is which you should always keep in mind. Now, if you're wondering that what kind of cost or what is the cost which will be associated, then let's see an example from the CL food business, which is about to happen like in next year, September 21st, 23rd, 2021. And you can have an idea that what kind of price, how they are charging the price. So one is that you will be charged for the space. You can early bird is $33 square feet, and regular price is $38 square feet. This is one type. Then the next is your registration. Correct. So the registration, you can see there's a regular package and there's a gold package. So then the regular package, they're talking about $410. So you can see what all they have included in that regular package. So they are saying that you can have 5 exhibitor batches, you can have 20 free invitation cards, right? Free access to the conferences. That means it has conferences, and conferences is chargeable maybe for outsiders, right? And in a gold package, you can see what are they offering. They are offering that free access to conference. Again, that's same, but one VIP prestige badge. They have 50 free invitation card which you can distribute. So this is another type of cost, registration cost. Then there is another part to this cost, which is cost of open faces. Okay, so just what we discussed, 2 open face, 3 open face, and 4 open face. That is 4 open faces is the island booth. So you can see the charges of that island booth, which is $990 extra. So once you pay for the square feet, and then you pay for if you want the faces open, or you just go with the linear booths, which has no charge, with no extra charge, right? This is a type of charges which you will incur if you are participating in when we are deciding which type of booth to take, and so you should expect this kind of charges. One is your the area charge, then then there's registration fees charge, and then there is open face charge. Open face charge because it will the more open face you have, the more number of customers you will attract, the more lead you will generate. So that is why the cost is high. Now, after that, in 4 to 5 months period of time, so you should be able to book your flight, hotels, and get your recommendations, accommodation. So it may sound very trivial, but again, a very important decision, because if it is a huge exhibition, then definitely as the date approaches, the price of flight, hotels are going to skyrocket, right? So at least 4 to 5 months of time, you should be prepared with all this kind of cost. Then in 12 to 16 weeks of time, you should obtain a copy of exhibitor's manual and read it very carefully, because you need to find out the different deadlines which your exhibitor or organization or organizer has, right? For example, if they have a deadline is that if you submit your stuff after this date, you won't be able to get into our catalog, right? So those kind of deadlines you definitely want to keep a check on. So 12 to 16 weeks time, you should have a copy of the organization exhibitor's manual, and you should read thoroughly. So during this period only, what you can do is, if you are preparing any specialist literature, or let's say if you have a literature and you are trying to translate it as per the market requirement, then you should start at this point of time. And the most important point which you should definitely, you know, decide upon is that what all products you want to take to this exhibitions for this promotion activities. Right, because if the space is small, you may not be able to carry all your products. So you need to identify that which product is your, best product or quality product, or product which you think from your expertise it will be most accepted by that market. You take those products to to the exhibition. Then during 8 to 12 weeks time, you should start planning the layout of your stand, your requirements for furniture, light, etc. Right? And you also see that what kind of package you have, your standard package we just saw, right? You have a standard package, or you have something on top of that. Or sometimes what you do is you just hire agencies to do this things for you, to design a layout for you. But even if you're hiring an agency for doing this stuff, you should start beforehand. So you should start 8 to 12 weeks before. 8 weeks is very, very crucial, because during this time you should be able to figure out that what kind of transportation cost, or how do you want to transport your material, right? The easiest solution is that you can employ a specialist freight forwarder who can transport your goods to and fro from your place, right? One most important activity which you should start at this point is sending out emails. Okay, so you definitely want to fix appointments. So you fix appointments with people, so that there are some meetings which are definitely there is a surety of some of the meetings. So you start sending out emails 8 weeks before, and if you are calling any form of incentive, or if you are, if you are just to encourage their visit, you should do this. uh, Start as early as 8 weeks before. Then during 4 to 8 weeks time, you should be able to you should be ready with all the equipments. You should be ready with, if you need an interpreter, like if you want to hire someone. As I said, this is again an event running cost which you may incur. So you should be ready with that interpreter. If you need any specialist literature which you started, you should see that that literature work is all done by this period of time. Then if you want to prepare any price list, if the currency is different, you may like to um, you know um, prepare a price list, so you can do that. And by this time of period of time, you should debrief your all the staff, and if they need any training, you should start at that point itself, right? And then 2 to 3 weeks before, just before going, what you should do is that you send out follow-up mails. So whatever mails you have sent before, there are some customers, some buyers who are really interested in your product, and you think that the probability of conversion is high. So you write mail to them again, and you can also give them a personal touch by giving a phone call. This is required. And just before going, you should double check with your show organizers that if what kind of deadlines, timings are there, because some organizers will allow you to work late in the night to set up your things, and some will not. So there is a deadline for completion of setup, removal of tools, right? So those things you always need to keep in mind. So once you have done, so this is a kind of a organized. So if you're organized and if you are doing all these activities before time, then again you can say that the probability of success or the objective with which you are going to participate in those exhibitions or the objective of this promotional activity is going to be high. Okay, so the probability of success is increases if you do all these things very systematically and beforehand. Sometimes it happens that you miss on a lot many points, that you missed on the interpreted thing, you missed on the specialist literature thing, you are late when you are booking the freight cost is now high because you are late in booking those to and for transporting your material. So if you do it, if you have a checklist with you, then definitely these things help. And as I said, it increases the probability of success. Now, small things like this, like what kind of stands you are going to, you are going to use, or the hanging signs, or the folding panel, or the kind of lighting you are going to use. This may sound again, uh, this you may not give importance to these things, but these are important because definitely you are going to create an impression of your brand, of your organization's name, your the value of organizations through these elements only. So you need to think very logically and structurally that which one to choose. Similarly, you can look for what kind of banners you are going to take. Is it going to be digital banner, retractable? So there are n number of options out there. Okay, you just need to see that which one to take, which one is beneficial for you, which one do you think is attractive for the buyers, or also you need to check the budget. So it is in your budget, right? So this things are important, and you should always keep in mind. You should not ignore, because at the end of the day, this will be creating your brand awareness. This will be creating an image. If the whosoever is visiting your stall, it will create an image kind of a thing in the mind that of those people. So if this we already talked about. So these are different types of stalls which you should choose for. Again, a very important decision. Very important decision. Which type you should choose, right? So this was the checklist I was talking about. So this 50 questions or 50 things you should be ready with from the pre-activity to the actual exhibition and post-activity. Right? So as we talked about that, how well does the show fit marketing needs? So definitely you have different organizations have different marketing needs. So some wants to just increase their sales, some wants to just increase their visibility. So what kind of marketing needs you have as an organization? That is first thing. Then you have to check that how convenient are the show dates, correct? Then you have to schedule if other events which are scheduled on those dates or not. So you should not miss out on anything which is also important exhibition, let's say during those dates only. So you should check for that as well. Location is definitely how convenient is the show location. Then I said that you should look for how many number of people are participating in those exhibitions. Uh, On the top of that, it is more important that how many of those attendees are in your target market, right? So all, let's say 50,000 are going to visit. So all of them may not be who you are looking for. So from those 50%, let's say there are only 150 or 200 people who will be your target market. So that you should also look for, right? Then you should also look for, very important, that how does show management do promote the show. So it is on the organizers, it is on the organizer that they promote their show. So you should check that how they are promoting. So are they promoting it well, or they are promoting it actively or passively? So ultimately it is going to affect on your leads, the leads which you are going to generate from that exhibition, right? So you should always should check, keep a trap on that what kind of promotional activities they are doing for those shows, right? Then you should look for shows past success rate, as we talked about, that how many people visited, turned out, how many visitors were there, how many exhibitors were there. So all those things we should know. And then you should always look for that if your competitors are also exhibiting. That is important, right? And then you should also look for that if the management provides a list of previous exhibitors. So sometimes the good exhibitions, you will find that they provide a list of previous exhibitors. So you can definitely get in touch with this previous exhibitors to learn that how effective this exhibition was, right? Then you have to see that has anyone from your organization visited the show. So in place of this, what you can check that if people from the same, under the same expo promotional council, the same industry, they have participated earlier or not. So that you can check from there. Then you need to find out how much your investment going to be. That is the budget we talked about. Then promotional assistance, which they are going to give the management, the exhibitor. Correct. The audience quality you need to look for. Correct. So similarly, you also look for that if you have any written exhibiting plan. Okay, so sometimes it happens that you have participated in various exhibitions before, right? So you have some materials from that previous exhibition. So do you have any exhibiting plan or not? If not, do you want to change something? You want to add something? Correct. So as we talked about, as the date approaches, you always see that if your space is reserved or not, if the necessary deposits have been paid or not. Correct. So these things you should keep a check, so that do you need any new graphics or not? Correct. Security arrangement. Who will do the booth installation for you? Are you going to install and dismantle, or it has been already organized, or the management, the organizers are going to help you, or you need a third part, hire a third party to do that stuff, or you are going to do it on your own. So all these things you should be very, very clear. So once you plan it, chalk it step by step, each and every point, as I said, then you can be more visible, you can feel more confident while you are exhibiting, right? So it should not happen that, okay, we missed on this, okay, we did not bring this thing, that thing, we should have brought that product. So we should have taken our other products, we have taken our, like, we are exhibiting the wrong ones. So those things should not happen. So you should be confident while you are presenting, and you can confident only when you have planned ahead and you are very sorted at that point of time, because this is one part, planning is one part, and then uh, exhibiting at that point of time is again a different kind of a show which you have to pull on. Okay, so there is complete a different kind of a show which you have to pull on. You have to attract, you have to generate lead, you have to talk, you have to build relationship, right? So those things are very, very, very important. Now talking about relationship building. So one thing is for sure that if you know that when we talk about marketing has two kind of philosophies, right? So one philosophy is that where we talk about product, price, place, promotion, and they say that your product should be very, very quality product, and if your product quality product, it will sell automatically. So that is one thought of selling. The other thought is we call this is a Kotler's approach when we talk about that the product should be quality and it will sell automatically. The other approach is called the Nordic approach of selling. The Nordic approach of selling tells you that uh, you should focus on relationship building. So focusing on relationship building means that once you have built a relationship, then it is very difficult to sell bad quality product. So definitely when you have built a relationship, you will not cheat that person. So that is another thought process or another selling philosophy which is out there. So generally, if you focus on relationship building while you are, while you are promoting your product or participating in these exhibitions, then the success rate again increases. You should focus on relationship building. Okay, so once you build relationship, then you come back, you can generate on those leads. So talking about leads, so when you have come back from the exhibition, you should not wait to give a call or write to the leads. You should do it immediately as fast as possible, because once, so you must know, you should know that if you have taken them as lead, if you have noted down their name as lead, your competitors have also done that. So before your competitors approaches, you should write to them. And once you write to them that, okay, Mr. XYZ, have met in so and so exhibition, then even if that person doesn't remember you, he will not say, I don't remember you. He will say, yes, yes, I remember you. And then the conversation flows. So immediately you should write them back. You should not keep those leads as like, you should not make them cold. Okay. So once you come back, you just write to them immediately. Then the next important point which you should keep in mind is about engaging your customers, or you can call buyers or visitors who are visiting your stalls. So how do you actually engage your customer? That is another important decision and what you call aspect which you should keep in mind. So while you are engaging, you can think of any games, or you can think of any other activity with the help of which you can increase the time which they spend at your stall. So the logic is that you want to increase the time which they are spending at your stall, right? Once you can increase that time, then you can engage in conversation. When you engage in conversation, then definitely, as I said, relationship building can the probability of relationship building happens, right? Now there are few small nuances. It used to happen earlier in earlier like when there these days you will find that all the exhibitions, they have carpeted floor area. So earlier it used to happen that there were only few uh, stalls which used to have carpets, and those carpets used to give feelings to visitor that this is going to be a premium stall. So the visitors don't enter your stall thinking that this is a very, very premium brand, and if it has, let's say, a carpet. So what you are doing, you are trying to play the mind of the people. You are trying to play with the psychology of the people, right? So you should think of various ways in which you can engage your customers. Now, another small thing which I remember is about they say that it's a big no-no to keep chairs in your stalls. Why? Because if your staff members are if your staff members are resting using on those chairs, and if some visitors if they are passing by, they may not enter your stall thinking that they are resting. So we completely understand that it's a tiring job. You have to stand for 8 to 10 hours maybe, and you need to take rest. But you also have to keep in mind that this creates a illusion or a image in the mind of the people who are visiting that they are resting. Let's not enter that stall. Okay, so what you can do is you can have job rotation kind of thing, that if someone is there, the other one may rest at some other place, and some sort of arrangement you can do at that uh, part. Then dress code is very important. So sometimes it is important. You will find that if your staff members are not distinguishable, that who is from this company and who is not, then it's difficult for the visitors to ask if they have any query about that product or not. So it is must that you can have You can have a proper dress code with, let's say, your brand logo and on a t-shirt. So I was reading one article at some magazine, and they said that t-shirts can become a huge, you know, you can use t-shirt as a tool for marketing. Like, for example, you can just write that please visit stall number this and this, or with any catchy message on the t-shirt. And if your staff members, when they are not at the stall and at the, let's say, at the aisle, or somewhere else, they can definitely give a message. So t-shirts are message on t-shirt becomes tools for increasing the visits at your stall. So that also helps sometimes. So the idea is that how do you engage your customers, and while you are engaging, you need to understand that you are increasing the visit. You are trying to increase the time they spend with you. And again, another important point while you are participating is you should keep in mind that you should note each and every point, or whosoever is visiting your stall. So you cannot have a scanner with you. So these days the cards are with barcode. So if you have a scanner with you, you can definitely scan the barcode, and the list of people visited your stall is ready with you, right? So these things are very, very important. Now let's talk about different types of promotion trends, which are out there, which I was talking about. Promotion trend, or you can call it as global trends. So are there any global trend which is out there, and with the help of which, if you merge your theme with that global trend, you can increase your visibility? So what do I actually mean when I say global trend? I mean these themes of, like, for example, sustainable development, eco-friendliness. If you are an organic product, so if you are into a product which promotes healthy habits, or if you are an organization which is into a social cause, right? Or if you are someone who is talking about saving the planet, or saving the ocean, or saving water, or you are someone who is trying to cater to the bottom of the pyramid. So, with each passing day, you will realize, or if you read various articles, and if you go and do a market research, you will find that people are gradually becoming very conscious about the environment, about their health, about different causes like human right, equality, this kind of cause. Okay, so this is so if you can use this kind of themes. For example, we were there is a milk as a product. You will find that these days what is happening with milk, that people don't consume milk with high fat content. Okay, so in Southeast Asia, in Middle East countries, women have become very conscious, and even they have stopped drinking cow milk altogether. They have now shifted to drinking of soya milk, which has no fat content. Right. So the point I'm trying to make here is, if you are already an organization who are into in any of this cause, you can definitely highlight that and can improve visibility. And even if you are a company which is not directly related to any of these global trends, you can see that what you can do to relate yourself to be visible. So again, we will take few examples. It's all about increasing your visibility. It's all about that entering the consideration set of the buyer, which when he is making a decision. So once you do this kind of, you follow these trends, you are trying to increase your success in the foreign market. One of such example is of this company called Paramount Textile. So let's talk about this company. I don't know if you are aware of this company or not, but this Paramount Textile, this is a Madurai-based company, and they had they have a huge export right now, but they started in 1979. So Sri Lakshmi started this company when she was 25 years old. Okay, and she started this company with just a seed grant of rupees 10 lakh, which was provided by her own family. And initially, she started working, and somewhere they used to produce 2.5 lakh meters of fabrics a month during 2004, 2004. Then what happened is that her son, Mr. Ram, who is right now the managing director of this company, he joined this company in 2004, and then he started changing things for this company. So the first thing which he did was he started participating in lot of international trade fairs. Okay, so once they started participating in different international trade fairs, they realized that there's a huge demand. There's a niche category over there in the luxury segment, luxury cotton, organic cotton. Okay, so they slowly moved into new products and they moved away from the conventional category. So they were the first organization at that point of time who actually got an organic certifications from SCAL Netherlands. Okay, and they slowly and gradually started exporting to countries like Japan, Switzerland, Italy, and they diverted, as I said, they diverted from the conventional category to technical textile, home textile, and fabrics, but in the organic and niche category. So they were like, they stopped the mass marketing thing and they said that we are a niche and luxury segment. Okay, and but what they also did is they said that we are zero carbon print company. Okay, so our carbon footprint is zero because they are promoting, they have a value, they have this value, they entire energy which they use for production of this for production of all the production which they do and all when they run this company, 65% of this energy comes from solar energy and windmills. Okay, so they are supporting a cause of saving the planet along with the differentiation they have created. So once they have the quality, they also have the quality and the differentiation they created. They said that we are sustainable. Okay, so now they are doing really good. And if you remember, I said that they are producing 2.5 lakh meters of fabric in 2004, and now if you see, they are producing more than 7.5 lakhs meter per month of fabrics. So this is a classic example that you have to be balanced. You are also talking about, creating a niche segment. You are talking about sustainability, and you are also following a cause. So once do all these things, you are going to increase your uh, what you call, as I said again, you can increase your presence in the market. So this is one of the example. Another example which you can see is of a company called Herbal Fab. So this is again a Facebook page of this company, Paramount Textile Mills Limited. So this, yes. So the point that this company is doing all the just not participating in exhibitions, but they are also using their indirect methods. They have a Facebook page, they have an Instagram page, they are present all over there. If someone wants to understand this company, the people behind this company, they will get a lot of information, which I feel sometimes is one of our weak points of our Indian exporters. We miss on these points. But we can definitely learn, as I said, we are trying to learn from this success stories of these exporters, like how you balance between participating in exhibitions, also maintaining your indirect methods of promotion. So you can find their Facebook page, you can find their textiles page. They have also a LinkedIn profile, right? So they have a balanced approach. Just not about exhibiting, also about keeping a balance between direct and direct methods. So the another company which I was talking about is this company called Herbal Fab. So Herbal Fab again is one of the company which is into organic cotton. So this the pictures which you see on the screen is a snapshot of their website. Okay, so you can see what they are featuring. They are featuring their product and they are featuring people behind making those products, who made my clothes. You can see this guys, the pictures which you see on the screen, they are just showing that who are the people who are, preparing or making this clothes. And also you can see that they have a blog where they talk about organic cotton, they talk about environment, they talk about, how do you make fabric made of waste, something called Bemberg. You can just see. So there is again an approach how your website should look like. I will show you another website page with Herbal Fab, or if you can compare it, this is another page. So you can compare this page with the pages which we are going to discuss more. This is a company again in the cotton segment, natural fiber flax. And you will find that this is not a very attractive website. Okay, not a lot of like people will not be really attracted to this website, or the inquisitivity to know about this company will be less if they had this kind of a website. Similarly, so this company talking about Herbal Fab. So Herbal Fab again is into organic cotton, and I was talking about the global trend. So they are also again following a global trend. So along with the global trend, they participate in exhibitions, as well as they have a very maintained good website. You can also follow Instagram. They have a very good presence in Instagram as well. Similarly, another organization, this is not from India, but again, a very effective, not effective, because you can say that a brand which can be an exporter's brand which can be watched. Nuru Energy. Nuru Energy is the name of this company. And they are into preparing or producing solar energy, and you can see what kind of products they are preparing. There is something called power cycle, octopus charger, Nuru light, Nuru solar panel. So they are actually helping the people in Africa. They are trying to solve the energy need in Africa. So they are again, as I said, so sometimes what you do is you are catering to the bottom of the pyramid. And when if you are someone who is catering to the bottom of the pyramid, you definitely catch attention of people. Okay, so you can see and check about this company, Nuru Energy. Another company is from India, which is called Kabadi Wala Connect. So it doesn't have to be always a product. This can be a IT solution as well. Okay, so this is a company from Bombay, which is, you can see what they do. They try to identify that data, they collect data on informal and formal waste, which is in any city, in any developing world. So they are from India, so they have developed uh, this software here itself. Then they talk about digitalization, sourcing, and municipal collection. So they are solution. They're again getting a lot of visibility out there because they are trying to solve the problem of saving the planet. Okay. So sometimes, as I said, you have started your business with the philosophy of solving all those trends which we saw. You have started with the thing in mind that I want to save planet, or I want to go green, I want to promote healthy habits. But sometimes that is always not the case. But if you are not into any of those global trends, but if you can some way try to relate, or try to be sensitive towards the environment or health or people, you can definitely increase, or that can be a point of relationship building. Okay, so that can be a point of relationship building. So these trends are, out there. People are following it. We will see more examples that how other organizations from other countries, how they are following this trend, doing great. Okay, so this is another example. So if you think, if you are figuring out that how my website should look like as an exporter's website, so this website you can just check out. This is Jazzberry rice. Okay, Jazzberry organic rice. This is a Thailand-based company. I will show you the elements which they use while they are promoting or while they are featuring their product on their website. They are again an exporter. They export a lot because obviously they're into organic category. So you can see the first page, the landing page, when you land on their website, you will see first thing they are featuring is the product, your new superfood rice. And they're talking about the feature of this product, that what this rice has. Okay, so this is like they're talking about X40, X3 antioxidants, correct? As you browse down the website, you will find this section. So this section is talking about, you can see our story. So this section is talking about the people, where they are coming from. So even if you click on our story, you will find they will talk about the who are these people, how are they, what is the complete process looks like, how this rice is getting harvested. So they are telling you a story of like the origin of the rice. So everybody wants to know where is it coming from, where my product is coming from. Okay, so this is the next section of their website. If you browse further, you will find that they are talking about make superfood a part of your everyday diet, discover our recipes. Now they are trying to engage the customer with respect to discover our recipes. So once you click on discover our recipes, then definitely you are going to, if you are going to prepare those recipes with respect to that, with the help of or using that rice, so you are automatically engaged with the brand. You are automatically engaged with this product which they are offering. Okay, this is again another chunk element, an important element of their website. Next part, they're talking about social isn't just a word, it's the way we run our business. Now they're talking about the company, the soul of the company. They are saying the soul of the company as is that we are helping our people. We are helping our people. We have a social cause down there. This is the fourth element of the website. The last element of the website, they talk about partnership and awards. So they give you that what kind of partnership they have already out there in the world and the award which they have won over the years in different exhibitions, in different, in different events and shows over the years. This is where their website ends. So if you see all the elements beautifully integrated, beautifully integrated. So if you go and check again, so first you are focusing on the brand, second you're talking about your people, that sorry, like how the production is happening, how the harvesting is happening, then you try to engage customer, then talking about the soul of the company, and then finally you are validating it with external validation, that okay, I have awards and also I have different kind of partnerships with people. Okay, so this element of showing that where it is coming from, the same element you will find when we discussed our this product category, herbal fab, when they are showing this people that okay, who is preparing this product. Okay, so as a marketing tool, this is if you can show them the process, if you can show them that where is it is coming from, it definitely works. It definitely touches or it touches rather despite of saying touches the heart of people, I would say that it instigate their thought process. They start thinking okay that okay these are the people who are harvesting it, where is it coming from. So once they start thinking, then definitely it will, the chances of again another conversation increases. Okay, so this elements I have found that this kind of elements particularly we lack in our businesses, in our export Indian export businesses websites. These elements you will not find everywhere. As I have shown you, this is one of our websites which is featuring. This is pretty much we don't know anything uh, about this organization, or they have given some profile product export feedback. but you can just see what kind of background they are using, what kind of information they are providing. Okay, so it may happen that we would get you will get a reasoning of, okay, we don't have a good website because we are already our business, we are already getting our business from the existing ones, so we have repeat purchase from the existing ones. But that is fine. Okay, you have your existing customer, you have already built a relationship, but what about acquiring new ones? So once you think of acquiring new ones, then you need to do these activities. Okay, so that is fine. Your existing business is strong. You have a lot of partnership with your existing buyers, but what about acquiring new ones? It's about long-term approach. So many of us, we don't think from the long-term perspective. We should think from that we should be in the business for next 10, 20 years, and then then we would think of this kind of strategies, or we will think from this point of view. Another good website or company to watch is kirangems.com. Like if you go to their website kirangems.com. So Kiran Gems is again a very huge it's a huge name in the gems and jewelry, the diamond segment, and you will find that they participate in in all the trade shows, and also they have a very good balance between direct methods and indirect methods. So this is one of the very good websites. If you go and check that, if they have given lot of information regarding what is this organization, who are these people, what is the quality of their product, what kind of certifications they have, who are their existing clients, what kind of CSR activities they do. So all those information, along with where are they, you can see on the screen, where are they exhibiting, the trade shows information. So all those things you can find on their website. Again, a good export brand to watch and see that how they have got success. kirangems.com. So if we talk about that, what are then the basic 7 steps of successful trade fair participation? We can say that first and foremost is that plan far in advance, which we talked about till now. That you have to plan really well in advance, so that you can plan, you have all the strategies in place, and you are confident when you are participating. You are not bothered that, okay, I have missed that point, I have missed that point, I'm not carrying this, I'm not carrying that. So all those things should not happen, and that state is only possible when you have really planned well in advance, right? So that is very, very, very important. Then the second one is prepare the sales and executive teams. Okay, so this happens most of the time, that we don't give importance to training the team or staff who is going to participate in the exhibition. Okay, so it is very important that whosoever is going, they have this the approach. They know how to build relationship, because as I said, you if you are going to any exhibition thinking that, okay, my product is the best product, or it has a very great quality, a very quality product, best maybe in that market, and because it is best, people will come and interact with me by themselves or on them. That is not going to happen, right? Even if you have very good quality product, you have to interact. Okay, once you interact, you can build relationship. So as I said, so it doesn't work like that. So the Kotler's principle, where we say that 4 P's of marketing, if we have done all those 4 P's in a very good way, that doesn't guarantee that your relationship will be built. Okay, so first, if you build a relationship, then definitely you can expect that your quality will follow, because we're not going to cheat the other party. So preparing sales and executive teams and staff is very, very important. Then the next one is be active on social media. So do not think it as a trend that you have to be active. This is important. This is not fancy. Some of us may think that, okay, being active on social media is kind of a fancy thing which is happening around there, but no, this is not a fancy thing. This is important thing. You need to be on Instagram. You need to be on Facebook, because those are the places where people look for you. Okay, people will see that how many followers do you have, how many posts you are doing, what kind of products do you have. That is important. So being active on social media is not fancy, but being active on social media is important. Important because, as we are discussing since last 1.5 hours, that it facilitates your direct meetings. Because in direct meetings, you are anyways investing such a huge amount. You are using your resources out there. What's the so can't you prepare a social media page just to facilitate that resources which you have already spent while you are participating in exhibition? You can definitely do that. So being active on social media is important. Then schedule pre-show booth meetings. Okay, this also people do. And you will also find that sometimes this informal meetings which happens during, let's say, organizing stuff. For example, when you are organizing your booth, or you are just up before the exhibition, those informal meetings which you do with your fellow neighbors or fellow mates, fellow exhibitors over there, those are very important meetings, or sometimes those meetings converts a lot. Okay, so that is again very important. And sometimes you also schedule pre-show booth meetings. So sometimes it happens organically that all the exhibitors are working together and then they meet informally. And sometimes you also schedule pre-show booth meetings. Right, pre-show booth meetings are also means that which we talked about, like you send emails and you know that this number of people we have sent emails, we have talked, so this visits we are going to get from people, right? So those that is called scheduling pre-show booth meetings. Then provide giveaways is again is something which you must think upon, that do you want to give something, who are, or if you are going to give something, then are you thinking of, there is some lead which definitely the chances of converting getting those leads into, you know uh, into a successful partnership is high. So are you going to give them something, or there are non-buyers as well, right? Some are buyers, some are non-buyers, so are you going to keep something for buyers as well? Correct. The next point, very important point, is scan, scan, scan. Why scan, scan, scan? Because scanning is important. Why you are going there? Because you want to generate leads, you want to meet people, you want to build relationship, and when you come back to again approach to the same people. So how you can contact them again when you have their information. So sometimes it's not possible that you sit down and you keep writing their names and where they're coming from, their information about the company. It's always not feasible. So that is why scanning is important. If you keep a scanner, if they have a barcode, then you automatically have all the informations with you. And debrief and follow up. Debrief and follow up is very, very, very important. We have discussed it in like we discussed it that follow up is important because you don't want to get your lead cold, right? So once you come back, you follow up and you see if there is any a possibility of any further future, partnership or not. Now, if you look at the whole process, this is the whole process. This is how the process looks like. So pre-show activity, then your at show activity, and then your post-show activity. And what is happening through this? What is the end result of these activities? Right. So as I said, quantifying objective is important. So if I spent X amount last year and I have generated this much amount of business, then definitely I want that business to increase this time by, let's say, 10% or 15%, right? So quantifying of objective is very necessary. And this is the point where most of us, we miss out. We don't quantify. We don't quantify it in a way that that we just go to generate leads, but how many leads, and how many leads which are going to be surely get converted to how many leads which may not, like, just for a conversation we're talking, which is not a hot lead actually. So those things you need to first quantify. So what are the quantifying? You need to quantify your objectives. Then pre-show promotion and booth staff training. This again, these two things we sometimes miss out. Pre-show promotion, as we talked about, that when you start preparing beforehand, and you know that what kind of promotion, what kind of material you want to send them, what kind of content, email content you want to send them, email you want to give them, phone calls you want to talk about their product, you want to send them in brochures. So those things is important. Then booth staff training, sometimes we again miss on this part. Then at show activity. At show activity is like booth size, booth location, on-site promotion, and booth staff density. So it should not be like that your booth very dense, that there is no place for any visitor to move freely or interact with you. So you should always have a balance. Okay. On-site promotion, what kind of banners you are carrying, what kind of electronic media you are, electronic, digital banners you are carrying for promotion, or booth location we talked about, booth size we talked about. This definitely depends upon your budget as well. Then post-show activity, follow-up and measurement, we talked about this as well. So what happens when you do all these activities? Definitely it helps in image building performance, sales related performance, information gathering, and relationship improvement. Relationship improvement because it's talking about your existing customers. So if your existing customers are also definitely there is a chance of relationship improvement. And new relationship building is also possible. New relationship building is also possible. Image building performance, image building, where is this coming from? This is coming from, you can think of all these activities or all this whatever promotion activity you did as branding elements. So once you are doing, or once all the elements are at place, it creates an image in the mind of the customers. So sometimes you will find, or sometimes you are in a situation where you say that, okay, I'm not going to plan for my booth design, or what I'm going to carry, or how my light is going to be, or all those. You just hire a third party to do your things on, like, you hire them to do your things on your behalf. But still, if you're hiring someone to do all those designing for you, you should always keep a check that how they are representing your brand, because at the end of the day, the organization or the brand it is your brand, right? So you should always keep a check that how they are planning to represent, how they are planning to represent those branding elements, or feature your brand. So once you do all these activities strategically and systematically, as I said, the chances of your success when you are participating increases tremendously, right? And just to go back quickly, what we have discussed. So this again, this websites you can check and just see, particularly this website we talked about, Jazzberry, the Thailand's website. Okay, so sometimes what happens, you will also find exporters, they feature their awards. So these awards which you just saw, these awards. So while you are selecting these exhibitions, one of the criteria could be that what kind of, if there is any award provision or not, and if you enter into those award categories. So sometimes when you can feature these awards on your website, it increases your visibility. This is again another tool another tool you can say, which which helps in your promotion. So you can definitely check for different kind of, okay, there are exhibitions which features companies in a special category called, let's say, newcomers, uh, or let's say the a company, the innovative company. You can find lot headings under which this different kind of exhibition feature different companies under these headings. A company or organization which is a newcomer but has done a great job, or someone who is very very innovative. So if you can enter those categories, it increases your visibility like anything. Okay, so you are participating is fine. You're participating, you are going there, you are creating, you are making relationship. But along with that, if you can work on this part as well, if you can see that if you can enter any award category, and if there is a possibility to win that award, if you are really, if you're going to win that, if you win, that's very good. But you can always try that if you can enter that, participate in that award category or not. Then if you can feature yourself in the exhibitions website, that also you can see. And then also you can also use different kind of, featuring yourself in different kind of, let's say, different industry have their specific magazines, or specific, you can say, uh, the journals, industry specific journals they have. If you can feature yourself in those journals, if you can publish research articles over there, so with this you can increase your visibility. Okay, so you should have, I think every organization should have two different teams, one for your direct methods and one for your indirect methods. But another important, but it should not, it should be balanced, or it should be in sync. Okay, so the validity, so whatever you are presenting at the exhibition, your the stuff, the content which you are featuring in your indirect, through your indirect method, that should be in sync also. Okay, so that is also important. So that you can always have two teams, one for direct methods and one for direct meetings and one for indirect methods, right? So these are important. We miss this small point, miss out. But if we do it religiously, if we follow it religiously, we can really get a lot of success. Now I would like to take questions. Is there any question? Those who are attending the session, do you have any question? Yes, I have. I think, okay, there are a few questions here. So let me take them one by one. So there is a question which is asking that can we put food stalls in various trade shows in several countries? If yes, then what's the procedure for it? So the exhibitions generally you will find that along with the exhibitors or stalls which they put for businesses, there are different areas they keep. For example, in Cial's exhibition, I have seen that they keep areas for uh, business negotiations. They also have particularly food stall area. I hope you are talking about food stalls to like for selling food stuff, right? So for those, I think you have to get in touch with the organizers. If you can just, put your food stall in those particular zones where they have kept for refreshments for the patrons who are visiting. But there are particular dedicated areas there where they have this kind of restaurants or where you can get in touch with the exhibitors, organizers. How can we know about HSN code and on which code the countries put hold on change in import or export quantity? Okay. So, Mr. Kumar, you can visit different websites. You will have, for example, if you visit IntraSense website, they will give you a lot of information, particularly with respect to HS code 4, HS code 6, where you can have information with respect to tariff, with respect to your quality barriers, and with respect to, I think, your export import quantity as well. Other than that, you can also visit website of, you can get data from UNCTAD, you can get data from weights, right? So these are the some of the very like these are the websites which we use generally to extract data with respect to HSN code, both in terms of quantity and the other quality and tariff barriers which we have. Someone is asking that how to contact for notes, articles, PPT, or recorded video for the classes. Uh, you can write, you can for particularly for my class, I can give you my email ID. You can just write to me and I can forward you the PPT. How to understand, how to help us to understand about how to enter in an expo. You mean how to participate in any expo, right? So that's what we were talking about, that first you identify that which, if a particular exhibition is for a particular market, or if any exhibition is in your particular industry, there are two things, right? So if it is in your industry and a particular market, so you first decide upon that which are the exhibitions out there. Then you generally approach that those organizers, that they will give you a full process. If you visit their website, they will tell you that how to register, how to what you should do step by step. Those information are already available. But if you don't have that idea, you can definitely contact your export promotion councils. They can facilitate your participation in those expos. Okay, going back to the question of food stalls. So there are food stalls. So like from the point of view of if you are an exhibitor and if you are exhibiting, or if you are like, I will give you an example. So Southeast Asia market, they don't use a lot of cheese. Okay, so they don't use a lot of cheese, but they want to promote the use of cheese. So in their exhibitions, we have observed that what they do is they bring a lot of famous chefs. So this is the exhibition I'm talking about, which happened in Jakarta. So they actually have hired a lot of chefs, and they're promoting that how to use cheese in their in their food, like when they're preparing, or when they're preparing when they're making their traditional dishes, then how to use cheese in those food categories. And it was getting a lot of traffic because they were the chefs were very famous, and they were like live, they were cooking in the exhibition, like during that exhibition, and it attracted a lot of traffic. So they just to promote that how to use cheese, because they have a huge market, because they get a lot of cheese and milk products from New Zealand and Australia. So but they don't use the cheese in their preparation. So this was a very nice, I felt, the nice way to promote the use of cheese. So to bring chefs, and then they are they're having live shows, live show at their exhibition, that how to use cheese. There is a question, how does customs facilitate in importing products for exhibitions? I don't think I have an answer for that question. You have to check with another faculty of, I think, logistics, which can who can give you this proper answer of this question. I think there is no more question. So if you want the PPT of this particular class or any notes related to uh, export promotion activities and how to participate in any trade exhibitions, please write to me. My email ID would be arunima@iift.edu. ARUNIMA, that is my first name, arunima@iift.edu. So you can write to me and I would be happy to provide you with any material or any with this PPT and any other material if you need.